Did you ever notice all the child strangling jokes on The Simpsons? Around the early 2000s, a new production company took over Fox and allowed more edgy material, including these potentially risky jokes. There was actually a Treehouse of Horror episode that involved Homer seriously hurting Bart that was more serious in tone. If you ever hear Dan Castellaneta asked about it in interviews, he will insist that it never happened and abruptly change the subject. Yeardley Smith, who voices Lisa, also briefly talked about it in a 2002 Nickelodeon magazine interview, explicitly stating that there were certain episodes that aren't talked about around the office because the content was slightly concerning. I'm a distant relative of Matt Groening's. I won't give my name out specifically, but I have access to certain test screenings that the general public is not a party to. It's been kept on DVDs and test screeners in the old Simpsons prop room, a place where it may have one day been sold in a Hollywood auction, assuming it wasn't destroyed manually or degraded by then. The episode was titled Harm of Simpson, which was probably a reference to the name Homer Simpson. The episode starts a little different, because there's a shot of the house prior to the intro theme playing. The actual title of the episode appears at the bottom, as Marge appears, cooking scrambled eggs in a rare close-up, as you hear the sizzling and a slight tear on Marge's eye. Despite the production reel title, this title was Homer Bruises Bart. You see Halloween decorations in the background, as if to imply that it's Halloween time, but there's no mention of horror or the Treehouse of Horror series at all, even though one shot shows the treehouse with some red stuff over the door. What's strange is Marge puts the hot pan of scrambled eggs on the table and Homer starts eating them out of the pan as Marge silently leaves the room. We're now 2 minutes in and there hasn't been a word of dialogue, just the sound of eggs sizzling and random nature sounds. Then the intro starts with the usual intro theme and abruptly ends as Bart is writing, "I cannot go to school today," on the blackboard. He has dark circles under his eyes. We then cut to the Simpsons household where Marge is still cooking eggs even though it's now the evening. The artist angles the point of view to show a sharp kitchen knife on the table. Marge continues cooking eggs for several minutes uninterrupted until we finally get a shot of Lisa in bed about 8 minutes. Initially, I assumed this may have been the setup for the Treehouse of Horror episode, as there were often introductory scenes that led into the episodes, these being dream sequences. But instead, we see Bart in the backyard with his slingshot as Homer is taking a shower upstairs. Bart is snickering to himself and it's the first actual dialogue, the voice sounding unmistakably like voice actress Nancy Cartwright. Homer leers out the window and Bart puts the slingshot away. The Halloween decorations have been removed from this scene and the house looks a little dirtier than usual. The couch the family sits on appeared a little frayed, and several cereal boxes were open on the floor. Maggie was also playing in the corner unattended. Marge is still cooking and you hear the sizzling, so it's presumably the eggs from earlier. Then, at about 12 minutes in, we hear the first line of actual dialogue from Homer. "Well, Marge, I sure could go for a piping hot plate of those wonderful scrambled eggs." You see the family's breakfast table, and there is a disproportionate amount of scrambled eggs among the toast and orange juice. Bart sits at the breakfast table and begins sipping juice. Homer is smiling way more than usual, and his deranged smile is shown in several angles as Bart sips his juice from a sippy cup for some strange reason. Bart sneezes, and Homer's eyes widen. Bart sneezed on the scrambled eggs. "Why, you little—" He begins chasing Bart throughout the house while Marge just stands there, watching. He chases Bart upstairs into the bedroom closet and begins strangling him. You can hear the voice actress coughing and wheezing and at one point says stop, and it sounds like real crying. Homer punches and slams his fist into Bart's side. You hear cracking and crunching, perhaps for comedic effect, but there's absolutely nothing funny about this scene. Bart struggles to get away, but it appears his arm is broken. He's trembling and crying as Homer kicks him in the side and shoves his fingers into Bart's eye sockets to the point that he starts bleeding. "Father," Bart mumbles as he drags himself to the staircase and Homer kicks him down it. He lands at the bottom of the staircase with a sickening thud, and you can hear Julie Kavner, the voice actress who plays Marge, weeping in the background. But it wasn't enough for Homer. He grabbed him and kept strangling him until it looked like his neck is going to pop off. Disturbingly, it looks like there are cartoon X's on his eyes to reveal he's dead, but in a later scene you see black duct tape, implying that Homer, or another family member, put the black X's with duct tape to indicate he's dead. His tongue is hanging out of his mouth, his neck is broken, and he's bleeding from the face. Homer spits on the slumped over body and goes into the kitchen, directing Marge to make more scrambled eggs. The Simpsons was supposed to be a comedy, and there was nothing funny about this. Lisa wakes up screaming, reminding all of us that this is a dream sequence. We cut to Marge in the kitchen. Again, she's preparing scrambled eggs. Lisa tells Marge that she had a bad dream that Bart was dead. There are now not just Halloween but Christmas and Thanksgiving decorations in the background, and Homer is shown in the back with a shovel digging a hole. Lisa asks Marge where Bart is, and Marge tells her he's gone away to summer camp for a while. A long while. And then Homer comes into the kitchen and picks up a kitchen knife from earlier and stabs Marge to death. Each time the knife goes into her body, you hear a sickening screech as she says, "Oh, homie," falls limp and dies. He goes upstairs to find Lisa cowering in a corner, picks up her saxophone and begins bludgeoning her in the head as she screams. He picks up Maggie and begins cooking the baby in the pan, with the scrambled eggs. This was disturbing. He then proceeds to bury all of them in the backyard as his neighbor Flanders peers over the fence. "Well, how daily doodly neighborino!" I couldn't help but notice the smell of a fine batch of Flanders' patented certified double-fried scrambled eggaronis. Homer leers angrily and then speaks, though in a barely audible tone. "Shut up, Flanders!" And then the sky opened up, and a spaceship appeared. Homer's skin turns translucent, his pupils fully dilate and become completely black. His nose elongates by 4 inches, he starts hissing and huffing and growing scales. He bends over and a steel tube emerges from his anal cavity, from which King and Kodos, the classic Simpsons aliens, hook up to an electrical device. Homer opens his mouth and a gray-pink mist starts flowing out of his face. It envelops all of Springfield. The final scene just cuts to random homes in Springfield. Moe Sislak and Barney lay keeled over on the bar table. Mrs. Crabapple is on the floor, face down in the teacher's lounge next to Principal Skinner, who is bleeding from the head. Milhouse lay dead on the floor next to a hopscotch drawing. The camera cuts to the Simpsons' kitchen once more. The final scene was the most disturbing, as we cut back to the egg carton Marge was using to make scrambled eggs. The expiration date in particular truly concerned me. The eggs expired on September 11, 2001.